The vocalist never gets to really engage in a gear discussion. I want to ask you about vocal preparation. What do you
What
do
do I have?
to protect your voice?
Mainly I try to, well, I do warm-ups, that's one. But we even in the car as well. I usually make honey and lemon tea if I'm feeling a bit groggy. And sometimes, the weather or whatever, and you feel under the weather, slept not as well. So any of these little things can affect the voice because I can't unfortunately tune it like the other guys can with the guitars and whatever. So it's a natural instrument. So I've come up with a little ritual that I would do. should I feel a little bit under the 100% mark that I would like to have, that where I won't get nervous or whatever because of what am I capable of today. But it actually helps though, because I do speak to other singers that obviously sing as well, and I've been given some really good pointers for like tours or general, just like if you feel like shit, this is what you do. So yeah, I tend to stick to the main stuff like lemon and honey with hot water in a big cup. And everyone keeps asking me what I'm drinking. And before, it was a really fun drink. It was actually called hot toddy, but I've quit drinking now, so I don't drink. It actually helps with everything. But yeah, but it's either, well, it was before, it was whiskey, lemon, honey, hot water, or now it's lemon and honey and hot water, and it tends to soothe the vocals. I have vocal zones as well, but that's it really. It's
Okay,
nothing
and
fancy.
that's before you get on stage, because on stage it's just water, right?
Oh no, on stage, yeah, I made a mistake at Blackpool. Funny enough, because I was feeling really under the weather. I even said to Ian, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" He was like, "Oh, you're gonna do fine," and I'm like, "Okay." So I thought, right, that's fine. So I had my, if you remember this, I'm pretty sure a few people must have caught a picture of me with this big ass Stanley cup, with the straw and everything, and it had hot water, lemon and tea, and lemon and honey
Okay.
in it. The issue is with that is that even though it's all water, it's great. You're like hydrating. It's hot. So I'm already hot from running on the stage. I'm already hot from, jumping over the barrier and shit like that, and not to fall over and whatnot. And obviously singing. So it's a lot of endurance on the body. And you get warm. But the thing is, yeah, I got so warm that I kept drinking the hot water that I actually pushed my body into having a feverish reaction. So when I got off the stage, I had a really bad headache. I was like, why do I feel like really like lightheaded? What is going on? And they're like, and I was thinking, I think it's because I drank this hot water. It does not bode well. So I'm gonna have a cold water and a hot water so I can manage it.
Regulate
I've
your
come up with an
temperature.
alternative, or somebody could throw just an ice bucket at me. I don't know. Like at this point, yeah, you live and you learn, basically. Yeah, but that's it. I don't
All
have
right.
a huge thing. I don't have a huge sort of preparation mode. I just do warm ups during the whilst I'm doing my makeup before I get picked up to go to a gig, or when I'm in a hotel room.
Yes.
Your guitar. I'm not even gonna guess what your guitar is, because it looks like a beat up old Les Paul, and it probably is nothing of the sort. Tell me about your guitar.
Or do you mean the one I had on first?
Matt has many a guitar.
Do you mean this one?
I do
Yeah,
mean this one. Yeah.
This is Keith.
Keith.
His name is Keith, because this is what I envisioned Keith Richards to look like as a guitar, beat up on this part, basically. By the company of Rock and Roll Relics, this was made for me by the guitarist out of Buckcherry. That's his company. Yes, that's his company. That's one of those. It's basically like a Les Paul Jr. type thing with a few modifications. But yeah, so that's the one I used off the first few tracks. But what else did I have that night? I had my Paoletti.
Did you have Fury with you?
Fancy one. No, I had Paoletti one, which is an Italian brand, which is very up and coming. And also I had one of my Strats. So,
oh, you didn't have your thingy. What's it called?
Yeah, the leather top one. I mean, I vary what I choose, because I love Les Pauls. I also love Strats because I started playing predominantly all on Stratocasters, and I prefer like modded Stratocasters, so they're not standard Fender Strats. What I play, they're
What
heavily
mods
modded.
do you prefer? What are you doing? You're
So
putting copper in the electronic control. You
yeah,
change
things
the
like that.
pickups.
Yeah, change the pickups to because I know what works for this band. I've been through obviously a few over the years. I've been playing for a while, but for this band, I know what works, what brand works for me, and I also play with the Floyd Rose tremolo system. If you know what one of those are,
So
which is
locking
harking
that.
back. Yeah, so harking back to my '80s rock,
Yeah.
foundations when I learned to play.
And
So that's
it
what I do
falls
for
in the
my
category
Strats.
of love it or hate it, right? There are guitar players who
It does.
absolutely hate. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I love them. Absolutely love it. And I like the transition of going between, a Les Paul and my Strats. Obviously, they sound quite different, but it just depends. I'm lucky enough to have, a few guitars, so I can just pick and choose what I want on the night. And also, I have to adjust certain parts in the song sometimes. Because sometimes there was this one section that was recorded, and I need the whammy bar for it to make it sound like the album. Or if I don't have a whammy bar, I'll do something completely different. It just keeps me on my toes. Because as Lee was saying, just one thing, because there's certain songs on album one thing where, Queen albums, they're so layered, loads of guitars, loads of synths, but live, when you hear them, they're like this raw, polished rock band. This sounds great. And I think that's the attitude I have. The first album, I was just layering guitars upon guitars, and then live, I chose which part to do to amalgamate the whole bunch, to try and not make it sound thin. I think I've steered away from it a little bit more on the second album. Still layered in places, just fill it out. But I think because I hate those bands that do so much cool stuff on the album, they don't or they can't recreate certain things live, and then that bit, it doesn't sound right.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of bands end up with backing tracks, and people are very.
And that's it. Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that.
What I find interesting about that is the adjustment of the playing based on the guitar you have in your hands, because I think a lot of guitar players would choose a guitar for a song. So when it comes to that song, they're going to go grab that guitar, which is the one they play on this song. But you're saying, no, I'm going to play the guitar I feel like playing tonight, but I'm going to adjust what I play based on what this guitar is going to give me. That's really impressive.
I think the only deviation to that is we do a few songs in a certain tuning, open G tuning. So obviously I need a guitar live specifically for that tuning. That's one of those tunings you can't just stand there and go, give me 5 minutes, I just got to tune all of my strings differently. It's not going to work. So there are certain guitars that I have that are specifically kept in open G. So that there's, they get rotated. Go, actually, it's your turn to be open G for these next 2 months, whatever. So that's the only difference. If we're doing that song, I'll need that specific guitar. But actually, everything else is just.
Have you been a good boy?
It is actually. They get talked to all the
time. They all have names as well.
That forces me into one more follow-up, which is, do you do your own setups then? I mean, if you're going to swap from open E to open G, you need to set the bridge up. You need to set the intonation. That's not an easy task. You don't just retune it.
No, that's so the only thing I will do on the fly is when we go, if I'm playing a Les Paul, if it's because we tune down half a step as standard anyway, and then we go down whatever tuning from there. So certain songs are just E flat standard. Then some of them are in drop D, which is obviously C sharp. But some we've got some weird tunings where I drop this low E string to, because we're tuned down half a step. Bear that in mind, right? So I will drop that low tuning just to a B, but it's not low. It's not drop B, because all the others are a half step down. So the way you have to play your fingers, the shapes to make a chord, is really weird until you go, you flipper, I love it. Because I don't like drop B. I think it sounds naff is too low for me. I don't like it. You go up a little bit. And one of our most favorited, that's even a word, songs, Monster, is in that tuning. and Save the Damn World, the new single, is in there. It's just got this certain vibe about it. It's got the heaviness, but it's also got loads of clarity, as you would in normal flat, drop flat. So that's the only time I will faff around with drop tuning without changing guitars from E flat to D. Or if not, I usually take 3 guitars to a show because it's quicker than standing there trying to tune all the rest of the strings. Because obviously when you drop a string, the others are going to slightly move.
Yeah.
Because of the tension in the neck and all that. So it's just easier to grab another guitar that's already pre-tuned.
Absolutely. So speaking of multiple strings and retuning, I'm going to switch over to Mustard, but not without taking a moment to have a pause for the English language and to say that the porn wizard was so confused that he had to say favorite tittied. So Mustard, the question, favorite tittied. So you were playing a 5-string fan fret bass live.
Yeah.
It was absolutely gorgeous. And then when we started chatting, you went about showing me photos of what's on your wall behind you. This one, look at that beautiful piece.
Blackpool. So it's this is my new fad, my new thing, because I have, much like Matt, many a guitar or bass for different purposes. I've been playing for quite a while. I'm lucky enough to have, basically I have a problem. I have too many guitars and not enough talent. And I never sell them unless it's kind of more recent, where I'm actually like, the kind of things I look for in an instrument, it's expensive instruments now, so I have to sell stuff to be able to afford to buy them. This one I've only had since, I think, January I got this. It's a Dingwall D-Rock. It looks like a Thunderbird, but without the neck dive, so it doesn't tip over on a strap like Gibsons do. I love the whole Thunderbird vibe. I think it looks fucking cool, different shape. This kind of reminds me of like a rock and roll supercar kind of vibe, right? It's got like fancy flip top paint, but more importantly, it plays like a freaking dream. It's got a really unique sound. And to be honest, I kind of discovered it by accident. I used to look at these fan fret kind of basses and I'd think, well, that looks weird. It must be really hard to play. They're not, they can't be very comfortable. How are you going to get around that? And how's it going to work? And what's it going to sound like? And I took a bit of a chance with this one. I had an opportunity to do a bit of a swap on some basses that I weren't really gelling with somebody online. And basically we did a trade and I got this. And it's a game changer for me. I got to be honest. It took me about 10 seconds to feel comfortable playing on this fan fret thing. It's got a really punchy sound. Most of my guitars are 5 strings rather than 4. Some people kind of get funny about, 5-string bassist. Yeah, you're a wanker. But I kind of need it because all the way that we write songs, the thunder, the kind of undertones, the fatness that Lee and I always strive for to fill out the sound when you're playing live and on record, you kind of need that low B, and I do use it an awful lot when we play. And I don't think there's actually any songs I could play bar one without having a 5th low B string. We are drop tuned to a half step down. So when Matt talks about tunings, we talk about it like normal, but generally, so we've got more range, and to kind of suit the live sound, we tend to drop stuff down a half step. Just because overall it tends to help us kind of fit things in when we're doing harmonies and things like that. It just locks in a lot nicer. But yeah, it's really cool. I've got 2 of these fan fret things. The red one behind me over here, that's another one. That's a Dingwall NG3. They're both Canadian made bad boys, but I haven't named them yet either. I think this one's going to be called Big D because it's a D-Rock, but I haven't decided yet. But yeah, I mean, it's not what you expect is what I would say. It looks like a rock and roll instrument, and I love that, and I love performing live with it. It's pretty simple in terms of you've got 3 pickups, but they all sound very different. And most bass players, they just kind of find a sound they like and they're like, yeah, cool, off you go. That's not me, because I love gear and I like messing around. this thing is like 3 different instruments in one. It can sound like a P bass, a really ballsy P bass. It can sound like a jazz bass. It can sound like a Stingray. And then you've got this last option where you turn all 3 pickups on, and it just has this unique, powerful, kind of punchy sound that I think works really well live with this band. And I love playing it. You put a little bit of distortion on it, or if Matt kicks in a solo, I'll often kick in some form of overdrive or distortion underneath to kind of fatten that rhythm sound out you'd normally get from a rhythm guitar. It just sounds cool. It sounds really good. Don't ever lose any low end either when I'm using effects and things like that. Because of the way I split my signal, I compress and separate the low end, so you never lose it, no matter what I'm punching in. If I'm punching in an overdrive or a distortion, or if I'm sticking a phaser on, or I'm doing some strings pads for some of the, sneak peek, some of the newer stuff we're doing live. I've got a thing that creates really nice orchestral sounds out of a bass, which you wouldn't think you could do, but it sounds cool. You never lose the low end.
Let me use that as an opportunity to talk about the thing you probably were embarrassed about on the night, and probably had some words after the fact. And I hope you didn't, because from an audience perspective, you handled what could have been one of the worst case situations for you as a band perfectly. It's really tough when gear disappoints you. And on that night, your bass cut out, and you had no idea why it cut out. Right.
So I have a better idea now.
How much of the equipment was yours? How much was house equipment? And what do you think went wrong?
So that night I was using my basses into my pedal board, and all my sound comes mostly from the pedal board. The amp really is a clean power amp to just make everything louder.
Project.
And I was running into the house cab. I think I was running into an Ampeg house cab. I've done that a million times before in a million different venues and never had a problem. Everything's good. The problem I found, what's the right way to say this? There was something in the power that I was being supplied at that for that slot that we had, and it caused my amp to trip out, because the fix for it was to shut down your amp, shut it back, power it back up again, and it came back on perfect. And the only thing, I've done a whole bunch of geeking out, troubleshooting, trying to figure out, because I don't want that shit to happen again.
Yeah. When the singer has to do the bass line.
You had the vamp. You had the vamp.
Exactly.
I was so proud of that, because I got it in tune as well. Just ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, da-da-da-da-da-da.
Tell him about the previous time we played there when you thought you had another bass
One
problem. You
second.
just
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
get it.
Was that in 2022? Same place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
There seems to be a venue. It seems to be a thing now with this venue.
the first time it was a thing with me with this bass, which has a little party trick. Look at this. Way, look at that.
Oh, that's nice.
No. It wasn't the bass's fault. It was the
it wasn't
bassist's
my
fault.
So actually, there's this venue. I haven't had a lot of luck in actually being a consummate professional in this venue. I love the place, but I always seem to fuck up there one way or another. So the first time we played, because I think it's the 3rd time we've played there. First time
I think we've been there 3 or 4, isn't it? Anyway, second time when we were at Motörhead, I think it was.
So I had one occasion where Lee decided to start the song before I'd finished setting up, so I wasn't connected at all.
He didn't plug in.
I wasn't even plugged in, and Lee I hear the sticks going, and I'm like, no, stop. Too late. We're already going, and I'm like, for fuck's sake. The second time, I'm like, where's my volume? What the hell is going on? Where is my volume? Dickhead here had the volume pedal backed right off. So I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell's going wrong? And then I noticed it, and I was like, dickhead, volume pedal up. I'm there. Okay. Well,
let's not leave Lee out of the conversation, because there's one thing, as an American living in the UK for the past 14 years, there's one thing about the UK that's both great and horrible, and that is everywhere we go, there's a good back line. I hate that it's such a good backline everywhere we go because I want to bring my own gear everywhere, but it's just so impractical.
Yep.
Drummers have this the worst. Every drummer I've known wants to have a Neil Peart drum kit, but it's just completely impractical for a live gig. You show up with a snare and some cymbals, right? What is it like being a drummer who loves gear and having to play these shows where 90% of your drum kit's already provided to you?
Yeah, it's an odd one. I'll take you back to when I've been in bands when I was younger and I was going up to London all the time. So something like that, I'd get on the tube. I hate driving in London, it's awful. I used to get on the tube with my cymbals, with my snare drum, my sticks, and I was ready to go. So for things like that, perfect, amazing. I can't carry a whole drum kit through London. It's a nightmare. I have done it once and I won't do it ever again. But yes, you're right. It's difficult because you want to use your own gear and you have to trust the process. When you're going onto stage, sometimes you have no idea what you're expecting if you haven't been sent, the gear list from the venue, from the sound tech guy. So you 9 times out of 10, if I'm not playing a headline show or anything like that, I'm using someone else's gear. And 9 times out of 10, it's not the headline band's gear either, So yes, I do get upset when I can't use my own gear, as anyone would. Luckily, quite a lot of venues that we're playing at the moment, they do have decent gear. The gear's okay. Thing that I've learned recently, which I've been trying to do a lot more, unless it's too awkward, is bring my stands with me. So using house stands has been the bane of my life for way too long. When whacking cymbals and cymbals falling down all over the place and all that sort of jazz. As for gear wise, so I play an AD custom kit, which is made by a British manufacturer in the UK. My snare drum is a Sledgehammer, Mapex Sledgehammer, so that is loud as hell. That is designed to take people's heads off. Cymbal wise is something I've had to tweak over time with this band. So when you're behind the kit and all your amps and stuff are facing the audience and all you've got is this little speaker here and you're playing with all these gears and you've got your in-ears in or you've got your plugs in, when you're playing your cymbals, they're not ringing as much as you'd like them to. So I had this fear of this big sound that I'm trying to create sounding quite small because the cymbals aren't resonating long enough. So I've had this, it's not big enough. So I've always been looking for the bigger, better cymbals. And ultimately, I've been quite lucky because most shows that we play, we get video footage back. So I get this video footage back and then I'm like, why are them cymbals so loud? Why is it so big and so full? And it turns out it's just getting used to being back on stage again and sitting behind the kit, playing the cymbals a lot quieter is actually way more beneficial for like stage definition and things like that. So since then I've tweaked it. I've got an A custom ride, which I use now rather than a big China thing, which is going to smash through everything. So darker cymbals generally do the job for me. And last but not least, London Drumstick Company. So they endorsed me and I
nice.
them. And that's very much a brand that I've been trying to work with for a long time. What they do is brilliant. And make the best sticks that I've ever played. So
Matt, you move your jaw when you play, right? Is it taught? Did you learn it or is it natural?
No, that just came out, man. The amount of pictures I've seen where I look like literally my face is melting.
no.
Because I'm sliced alone shit going on. I can't help it. Yeah, but as I vaguely remember your response to that when I said it, when we spoke, it shows you're in the music. It shows you're feeling it. And I think that is why I would call myself a stroppy guitar player, as we mostly are, right? Because if we're having a bad show for whatever reason, if the sound's off, wherever, it comes across. So if I'm pissed off in a show, it comes through my playing. I get very aggressive with my playing. And I think that translates through to my jaw. So that's when you're going to see it over there, probably sometimes. But weirdly, some of the best performances from my point of view I've had, if I'm really annoyed, the guitar playing is better sometimes because I'm taking it. I feel sorry for my guitar sometimes. You know, you take it out on your instrument.
Yeah, he talks to them, so he'll apologize.
Yes, I'm sorry,
I do.
baby. I'm so sorry. I was so rude
That's
to
why
you.
that's why they've all got like chunks of paint missing, because he just goes home and kicks the shit out of them when he has a bad show.
And to talk about his faces, like and
Yeah.
also the bass players, our group chat is full of memes that we've made. Well, normally that I've made of stupid faces from stage pictures that we get sent. They're so good.
I love it.
They're
I love it.
amazing.
Yes, man. So funny.
When, as an audience member, watching you play a lead and watching your jaw move with each note of the lead, you are completely locked in between what's going on in your head, the coming out your jaw and coming out your fingers. There, it's like a dance, and it really
You're dancing.
you might think because you get a photo and you look like you're gurning that's a bad thing, but honestly it is such a demonstration of how completely engaged with what you're doing you are. It's really nice to watch, I have to say.
That's what people. That's
Yeah,
what
but
people.
most,
would
yeah, but,
healthy gurning. That.
yeah, but most of the time I only see the picture of the neck upwards, which just looks like I'm just an idiot walking around. So you can't see I'm playing a guitar.
We wouldn't be a band if
You
we
know?
didn't take the piss out of these pictures either.
Yeah.
But yeah, we
That's true.
appreciate the gurns, mate. Yeah, we appreciate the and
They're the best.
Yes.
I would have guessed you were taught it, because that is a technique that some guitar players use, is to vocalize what they're playing. You're vocalizing the melody. You're moving your jaw with it. It's really cool. I would have guessed it was taught. So it's cool that it's natural.
I wouldn't even know how to learn something like that.
Annabelle,
Yeah.
you know it, but you are just a charismatic human being, and when you're on stage, you captivate the audience.
It's a superpower and a flaw at the same time. It fits well on a stage. It doesn't fit well in real life.
Well, it's like you say, if you're always talking at 11, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just kind of projecting and being big. It's being present. As you were talking about earlier, the flow of the song and the choice of the songs and what you say between the songs, it's more than that. You are giving it your all, and they feel it. They know it.
I want them. Well, I try to what's it called? Come across to the audience and make sure I captivate them, to make them feel, or at least try and make them feel how I feel. So that way they, because I get the adrenaline from being on stage and enjoying myself, and literally have that's like the best time. Like the best times of my life are ones where I am on stage, doing my thing, because it's amazing. I've got a great team next to me, backing me up, and it's a euphoric and fulfilling feeling. And if you could get that across to the audience and make them feel that way, they'll not just enjoy the music that we're playing, they'll feel it like they're almost a part of the band, so to say, because they're going to be in that, in that sort of state with us, because we're enjoying ourselves. Why not allow people really tap in and feel that way too?